Hi everybody, I'm Susan Mulvihill. Welcome back to our garden in Spokane, Washington, where the hardiness zone ranges from 5B to 6A. So what's on tap for this week? I want you to be very successful at growing vegetables. So I've put together my top 10 tips for doing just that. Let's dive right in. If you are new to vegetable gardening and you're walking around your yard trying to pick a good spot for your garden, choose the sunniest place that you've got. This is so important. Vegetable crops benefit from at least 6 hours of direct sun per day. The good news is there are crops that will tolerate less than that, but you really want to give them as much sunshine as you possibly can. If you're having trouble picking a spot, but you have a sunny patio or a deck or a porch, you can grow vegetables there in containers. Water regularly. It's so important that you don't subject your plants to extremes in watering, so where they go from super dry to super wet. And the best time of day to water is in the morning because there will be less evaporation and also less shock to the plants than, let's say, if you were to water in the middle of the day when it's super hot and you put that cold water on the leaves that can shock the plants. You don't want to do that to them. Now we use a drip irrigation system to water our whole vegetable garden, and I have a video on exactly how it's set up if you're interested. I'll put it in the description with this video on my YouTube channel. But this works great because the water's going right at the soil surface, which reminds me, you want to water the soil, not the plants, because that's where the water is going to be delivered to the roots and the plants will do great. Now, if you water your garden by hand by dragging a hose around, consider getting something called a water wand. And this is made by Dram. They make really good ones and they come in cool colors. But the thing is that if you're using a hose, you can attach this to the end and then you don't have to bend over to water your plants. So those are very handy. Now when you're deciding which vegetables you want to grow, be aware of how long your frost-free growing season is in your area. And if you're new to your area or new to gardening, you can find that out from gardening friends and neighbors or contact your local Master Gardener program. And if you don't know how to contact them, just do a web search on the words Master Gardeners and add in the name of your county and the name of your state or province, and that will take you right to their website, and then you can contact them. It is a free service that is awesome. So when you're choosing varieties, make sure that what you're choosing will mature within the time that your season allows. So I have a great example for this. I love growing butternut squash, but the problem is it takes 120 days to reach full maturity. And we don't have that many days in our zone. I would grow it every now and then thinking, well, maybe this time it's going to ripen in time, and it wouldn't. Well, then I heard about a variety called Burpee's Butterbush Butternut Squash that ripens in 75 days. And I tried it, and it's fabulous. And yes, it always matures in time before the end of our growing season. So just do a little research, make sure that you're not choosing something that takes a long time to grow, like tomatoes, winter squash, and pumpkins, and make sure that the varieties you're choosing will make it in time before you get your first frost. Be sure to plant your seeds or seedlings at the right time. Now there are two categories of vegetable crops, cool season crops and warm season crops. And if you plant either of those types when it's the opposite type of weather, plants will struggle and they might either die or just plain not produce for you. So examples of cool season crops would be things like lettuce, spinach, broccoli, chard, and so on. And examples of warm season crops would be things like tomatoes, cucumbers, melons, squash, pumpkins. So make sure that you check your seed packet or the plant tag if you've bought a seedling, and plant them at the right time, then they will grow well for you. I also wanted to mention that I have a very special section on my website that is completely free, and it gives you all of the information you need to know about growing a wide variety of vegetable crops. So here's how to find it, and I'll show you what's in it. So first you want to go to susansinthegarden.com, and you'll notice that there's a menu across the top, and there's one item that says Grow Vegetables. That's what you want. So click on that. And then when you scroll down the cover of the section, you'll notice there's a chart. This is the important part. This is a list of all of the vegetable crops that I've covered in this section. The crop names are on the left-hand side, and in the right-hand column, it says cool season or warm season. So this lets you know which type of crop it is so that you plant it at the right time. Let's say you want to grow carrots. Here is the page that's solely on carrots. I have some interesting facts on them, whether you should plant seeds or seedlings. And in the case of carrots, you want to plant seeds directly in the garden, what the time frame is for planting, how long it takes the seeds to germinate or sprout, the depth to sow the seeds, and the spacing, and the typical amount of days it takes for carrots to reach maturity. Then I have a section on cultural information so that you can successfully grow carrots, and it includes some interesting methods I have that work really well for getting carrot seeds to germinate because they're notoriously slow. I have information on how you might deal with carrot rust flies, my favorite varieties of carrots, when you can harvest them, how to cook and preserve carrots. And then over the years I've shot a number of videos about growing carrots, so I put direct links to those videos on my YouTube channel right here. So I hope you'll find this Grow Vegetables guide really helpful as you start growing different types of crops. While I don't do a lot of fertilizing of my vegetable crops, it's so important to give the plants the right type of nutrients based on the type of crop they're going to produce for you. If you're growing leafy green vegetables, such as lettuce, spinach, kale, or broccoli, give them a fertilizer that is high in nitrogen. If you're growing a crop that blooms and sets fruit, such as winter squash, pumpkins, tomatoes, or peppers, or a root crop such as carrots, parsnips, or beets, all of these crops will benefit from phosphorus. So let's take a look at a fertilizer package so you can see what I mean. So if you look at a package of fertilizer and the first number is the highest, that means it is high in nitrogen. If you look at a package of fertilizer and the middle number is the highest, that means it's high in phosphorus. So that's how you choose a fertilizer that's high in either of those nutrients. When growing veggies, I primarily focus on the first two numbers on the packages. But potassium is an important nutrient that helps plants grow, fight diseases, and helps water move throughout them. So potassium is important, but in general terms, you just need to look at the first and second numbers to see if a fertilizer is high in nitrogen or phosphorus, and make sure you're using them appropriately for the type of crop you're growing. Space your plants appropriately. If you crowd them together, they will become stressed, and stressed plants are more susceptible to disease and insect problems. You don't want that. So always check your seed packet or plant tag to see what the correct spacing is and follow it. I know weeding isn't a whole lot of fun, But it's so important that you keep up with the weeds in your garden because they compete with the plants you're growing on purpose for moisture, nutrients, and space. So anytime you're in the garden, if you see a weed, pull it. Now, if I were to scan the camera in this garden, you would be hard-pressed to find any weeds. And that's because if I see one, I pull it. And of course, in the early days, we had a lot more weeds and I had a lot to keep up with. And now it's just minimal, you know, here and there, and I see them and I pull them. So it's definitely worth your time to take the same approach and pull a weed if you see it. Monitor your garden on a regular basis. You know, I cannot emphasize enough how important this is. And I walk through this garden every day. Now, it's a very pleasant thing for me to do, but the other thing that I might spot is that there's a problem with a plant. Maybe it needs a stake. Maybe there's an insect that I didn't know was getting established in a planting. Or maybe it's time to harvest something. So by monitoring your garden on a regular basis, you will know how everything is doing and you will be ahead of the game. This one is near and dear to my heart. Please use organic methods. You're growing this food to feed your family or perhaps to donate to your local food pantry. Growing things organically is easy, and if you follow me throughout the growing season, you'll see exactly how easy it is to do this. My videos come out every Thursday, and I always am focusing on organic methods. So let's talk about bugs and how it relates to growing organically. There are two families of crops that can have nasty insect problems, but you can prevent those insects from getting onto your plants through the use of a barrier, such as agricultural insect netting, which is what you're looking at right now, or floating row cover. This bed has broccoli growing in it, and cabbage family crops, such as broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower, and kale, can get cabbage worms and aphids really badly. None of those crops needs to be pollinated, so that means I can put a cover over the plants rather than using even an organic product and keep those insects from getting onto the plants. You can't use it for crops that require pollination, such as summer and winter squash or pumpkins. But otherwise, this type of cover works great. And you can use them year after year after year. Now, I have the agricultural insect netting in my Amazon store because it can be a bit hard to find. And I absolutely love this stuff. So if you're curious about it, just go to the description that goes with this video on my YouTube channel and you'll see a link to my store there. As an Amazon affiliate, I do receive a small commission, but that won't impact the price you pay at all. You'll get the regular Amazon deal. If you monitor your garden on a regular basis, you'll spot insect problems right as they're getting started, which is when you'll have way more options for dealing with them. One of the books I've written is called The Vegetable Garden Pest Handbook. It's all about the bugs, both the good ones and the bad ones, that you will see in your garden. It has tons of information about insects so you can determine what's on your plants, and every method I suggest in it is organic. It's also in my Amazon store if you're interested, so I just wanted to let you know about that. The other book that I wrote, The Vegetable Garden Problem Solver Handbook, covers all of the other types of problems you might encounter in your vegetable garden. Okay, that covers my top 10 tips for growing a vegetable garden. I hope you found it helpful and that you're excited about gardening organically. That is so important. Do you have questions? I'm happy to answer them. You can either put your question in the comments on this video, on my YouTube channel, or you're welcome to send me an email. My email address is at the end of this video. Thanks so much for watching today, everybody. Happy gardening.